Hi, my name is Samantha, and in today's video we're going to be making a beautiful sash that even has velcro to be readjusted. Let's get into the video. To make the sash, what we're going to need is 2 different pieces of fabric, velcro or any other adhesive or fastener. Let me show you my example here. So we're going to have the inner color and then the outer color and then some sort of fastener. My first attempt I used these snaps, but I'm going to use the velcro in this attempt. So for the inner piece, we're going to need a piece of fabric for an adult that is 72 inches by 4 inches, and then for the outer piece, 72 inches by 6 inches. If you would like this portion right here, this little lip, to be wider, then add more. If you like it to be smaller and you just want a front and back, then make both pieces the same. But the 4 and the 6 is what you'll adjust for how much is shown. I bought this fabric a while back, so I can't remember if it was a yard or a yard and a half, but I am going to measure it out and see which way I need to cut it to get 72 inches. You could separate, like this one, you can see, because I was using all scraps for this one, just trying to get a test trial. You could do this and you could use scraps intentionally, or you could cut it in half at the shoulder. So you could cut 2 pieces that are 36 inches if you'd like, and have just a front panel and a back panel, but I'd like it to be 1 front piece and 1 back piece. And I forgot to mention, the iron-on I have here is for when we place the words on. So for this example, I didn't place any words on it, but when I make the sash, I'm gonna write happy birthday or something like that. You can use any type of fabric you'd like for this project. For my example, I use quilting cotton just because, like I said, I was using scraps. The only issue we had with that one when trying it on was that it got a little stuck on your clothes, so it wasn't very elegant looking. So that's why for this one, I'm going to use this satin, which I found at Joann's. It was actually pretty hard to shop for because for some reason they have it like wrong side out on the shelf. It was strange. It would have been much easier to just order it online, and it was really hard to tell the difference in colors. Okay, so this is 29 inches when it's folded selvage to selvage, so that means that it's only 60 inches, so that is not enough. I'm not going to be able to cut it in that fashion across like I normally would. I'm going to have to lay it out. Let me go to the floor for a minute. Okay, so I misspoke, and I did not have as much fabric as I thought. I must have miscalculated. So I am going to have to separate this into 36. That means there will be a seam at the shoulder. So I am going to cut 36 by 4 and then 36 by 6. I'm going to cut 2 of each versus 1. What I should have gotten was 72 inches worth of fabric, which would have been 2 yards versus getting a yard and a half, and then I could have cut long ways. That's okay. So we're going to make it 36 by 4, 36 by 6. So I want the white to be my inner piece so that the shiny silver shows up nicely, and the black will be the accent color. So the black will be cut out of the 36 by 6, and the white will be cut out of the 36 by 4. So what I've done here is I have the selvage ends on this end and the folded on this side, and I'm going to cut a long strip. So I have a yard and a half, and it's going to end up that there's going to be some extra, but this is, I think, the easiest way to cut it and try and keep everything as straight as possible. Let's see if I can use this ruler, move it up a little. I bought this ruler specifically for when I make napkins. So this is a 15 by 15 ruler, which is great because I can lay it down and I know that's how much I need for my napkin. I love this ruler. Very overpriced though. I did use a coupon, 2 coupons at Joann's. But a high quality ruler is well worth it. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to just fold it up. Make it a little tighter. Okay. And I don't have plans to make anything else out of this besides the sashes, so I'm fine with cutting it up for the sash. Okay. There we go. All right. Make sure you can see that. I have my rotary cutter here. Just gonna hold this down. Right now I'm just trying to get a straight edge. Now what I'm gonna do is this is gonna be my 6-inch piece. So I am going to need to flip it around, but I don't want things to shift. I'm gonna get some clips. I'll be right back. This satin is very slippery, so I don't want anything to move. I want to keep my straight edge. So over here, I'm just gonna clip all these guys down. Hopefully things won't move too much. These clips are awesome for fabrics like this where you don't want to stick a pin in it. All right, hopefully I can spin and rotate. Let's see. Awesome. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is flip my ruler around and go to the 6-inch mark. Line that up with my straight edge. And I'm going to cut 6 inches. So this will be my outer piece. Right now this is too long, much longer than I need, but it is a perfect 6 inches all the way down. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to do another 1 or 2 while I'm at it because I already have everything lined up, and like I said, I don't have plans to make anything else out of this fabric. This is what this fabric was purchased for. So I'm just going to keep cutting. I don't know if I'm going to do the whole thing or not. We'll see what happens when you get close to the end. My initial thought for the scraps of this project are some scrunchies. Some satin scrunchies. I think that would be quite lovely. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If I did make scrunchies, they would definitely be available in my Etsy shop. Look at that. Nothing's damaged. These clips are awesome. I bought them off Amazon, but they're not the actual Wonder Clip brand, because that brand is extremely overpriced. Uh-oh, something shifted a little. Okay. Something got shifted. I was trying to not move anything. That's why I want to just cut this all at one time. Okay, another 6 inches. So my initial plan with this is to make a birthday sash, but my holdup, so my initial plan was to make a birthday sash with this. My holdup though is I don't know what to write. So I don't want to write happy birthday because you can buy that at Walmart. The point of making something yourself is that you get to personalize it and put your name on it. But like birthday Samantha, that doesn't make any sense. So it needs to say something else, like Queen Samantha or Sassy Samantha. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below what you think it should say. A birthday sash personalized for someone, but doesn't just say happy birthday, and it doesn't just say like 21st birthday. Something that someone can use again and again. Let me know what you think in the comments. Oh, see, I was talking and not cutting well. All right, let's see what this piece is that we got left. It is 9 inches. So I'm gonna just fold this in half. Like I said, I'll just cut it all up because I know I'm gonna have more of the white than of the black because the white, uh-oh, it's a little wonky. I hope my sashes are all even. Looks pretty straight to me. Uh-oh. This is a little cut wonky. This might be a one-time craft for me, this fabric. I was trying to be as delicate as possible, as slow as possible. Oh, that's so frustrating. Surprisingly, this fabric is not very expensive. I want to say like $6 a yard. I would think that something silky, satiny, luxurious feeling would be much more expensive. Okay, let's try this again. You know what I think would be a good idea? Like a lazy Susan that you like turn around. I've seen it for smaller, like people do like quilting cuts on it, but I have not seen anything for bigger, probably because it would have to be huge. Because I don't know how else you switch to cut on the right side or left side, whichever hand you are. Okay, so this piece that's left over is 3.5. So I could definitely make scrunchies from at least this piece. That's exciting. Let's see how many we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means I need to cut 5 out of the white, but the white will be 4 inches, not 6. You know, I have an idea for cutting this one. I'm gonna make the first cut really uncomfortable and put it on the wrong side, and I'm just gonna like go on the other side of my table so that the second cut I'll be able to stand on this side. Let's see how it goes. So I've done the same thing here. Here's the folded edge, here's the raw, and then the selvages are up here. So I'm cutting long strips, right? Let me make sure I have it folded in the same manner. Hold on. Okay, so let me make the awkward cut first. That was pretty hard to do, but not impossible. So now I can lift up the ruler and just scoot it over. So this guy is only 4 inches, not 6. Yeah, 4 inches. I needed to do it 5 times. But we'll have a bigger piece left over at the end because 4 is smaller than 6. Okay, that's pretty straight. So I think that's better because I didn't shift anything. I need to change out the blade in my rotary cutter. All right. Now what I have seen is people will cut 12 and then 8 and then 4 so that you're moving the ruler in less. I'm gonna try that out. Obviously you would do multiples of whatever length it is that you're cutting. Okay, so that's 12. And then you move to 8. It's supposed to be so that you don't move the fabric as much. And then we'll go to 4. All right, so I have 1, 2, my goodness, I really got to change out my blade. All right, 3, 4, so 1 more. Don't want to move anything. Okay, now we have our width. Oh my gosh. So this piece is left over, so is this. Now we need to make the pieces 36 inches long. For this part, I'll probably just use scissors. All right, so my next step is I'm gonna pair up a black and a white piece, and I'm gonna clip them together. And then I will measure and cut 36 inches. So I'm going to do that for all the pieces. I'm just gonna match them up, and then I'm gonna cut them straight across 36 inches, and then it'll take 2 sets of each to make 1 sash. I'm gonna do that to this stack, and then I'll come back. I have my stacks put together, so the next goal is to make each one a long piece. Now that we have the 2 pieces sewn together, I just have been using a white thread for this project, as if I use black thread on the white, then you'd be able to see through, but using white thread on the black, you won't see it. So I have sewn right sides together the 2 pieces. So now it is 1 continuous strip. I've done that for both pieces. Now, since this is not 1 continuous strip, it's important in the next step that we line up the center seams, because that is the most noticeable spot. So what we're gonna do is go to the iron and press open these seams. We're gonna stick our finger in between the two pieces of fabric and press it open, and then we're going to use the iron on a low setting, no steam, and press it open. And we're also going to iron each panel flat. Now we have our center seams pressed open and the length of the sashes pressed. The next step is going to be to put our Velcro in. So this was the first one I did, and I put the Velcro both on the back side, but after looking at more pictures of how the sashes are supposed to look, they're actually supposed to go like this. So on one piece it needs to go on the back, and one piece it needs to go on the front. But we need to do this step now before we attach the two and make a tube so that you can't see the stitches. You can't see the stitches because I attached this Velcro to the black piece. It's within it. Now, I would also suggest adding some interfacing on the inside just to give it more stability. If you watched my last video, then you know that I'm waiting for my interfacing to come from Joann's. So I'm going to have to improvise and use this piece that I already have cut for a coaster and hope it works. I would suggest not using something this thick. Use something like a thinner, maybe like shapewear Pellon, or I don't know, something smaller. And then also I did the Velcro across on this one. On the next one, I'm going to do it vertically so that you have it like this and you can adjust. So those are the two changes I'm going to make. This is definitely functional. It works. You can wear it. But I would just suggest one on the front, one on the back, and do a vertical strip. And when purchasing Velcro, be sure to get sew on, not adhesive. Everything I've read online says that adhesive will screw up your machine. Do not use adhesive. For this one, I used 3 inches, and that seemed like a decent amount to hold it, and I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to do 3 inches. Obviously, it's not the end of the world if this isn't exact, it's just Velcro. I'm going to use scissors that are not my fabric scissors. And I'm going to cut it. Okay, so don't need that much of this. I'll just do it like that. It's not an exact number. Again, not using my fabric scissors. Okay, so I'm going to iron. These are iron adhesive. I'm going to iron these on to the piece that they belong to. Okay, so I'm going to line these up. These are both the pretty sides. So if we want one piece to be on the front and one piece to be on the back, then on one, it needs to be right here. And on the other, it needs to be right here. Now, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to put like the soft side and the hard side on one and not on the other. I don't really know. I don't think it really makes that big of a difference. And if you were using like punches or hook and eyes, you could do that right now if you want. This one doesn't work because I clamped it too hard and I busted it. So I have a safety pin. And I also wouldn't suggest doing tail ends like this. All right. So that means I need to measure where it's going to go. I have some chalk right here. So I'm going to go 4 inches up. I have my 4-inch mark right here. I'm going to go 4 inches from the bottom. And then this is 6 inches on this piece, so I need to do it at the 3-inch mark. Let's grab some chalk. 3-inch mark. I'm just going to rotate. 4 and 3 again to get my hash. So right there is where I want my Velcro to be. So the Velcro is going to go right here. But that also tells me that I can put my adhesive right on the other side, my interfacing right on the other side. And that just gives it some more stability when you're yanking on it, if it has a little piece to fall back on. Plus when I sew, I'm going to be sewing into this. All right, so that's where that goes. And I am going to go ahead and use a pin for that one because there's no way I can clip in the middle of the fabric. And there's going to be a piece of Velcro here, so you won't see the pinholes. So that's where that one goes. On this one, we are also going to go 4 inches up. However, this is a skinnier piece of fabric. This is 4 inches of fabric, which means that it's going to be 2. So 2 and 4. When sewing, you need about 1,200 different marking pens because different pens you use for different applications. It's very annoying. It'd be nice if there was just one that worked for all of them. This pen is pretty cool though. So on this side, it's disappearing ink that goes away with air, and this is Mark Be Gone, which goes away with water. Oh, see? Air and water, water soluble. And I want to say it was like, I don't know, $2 at Joann's, but you can still use a coupon on $2. Makes it even cheaper. Okay, so this one, interfacing is going to go about right here. Okay, I'm going to take these to the iron and go ahead and iron these on. I've never ironed on satin like this, so hopefully it sticks. If not, it's not the end of the world because once we put the Velcro on, we'll end up stitching into it anyways. Okay, it actually seemed to work pretty well. It's pretty stuck on there. You can see that there's a bubble, but that's the price we're going to have to pay. So, I need to find the center of this. Okay, the center, and then I'm just going to center it on our line right here. Again, this is hard to pin or clip, so I kind of just stick a pin straight through because it's really hard to get the pin to like do its normal pinning where you like go through one side and come out the other. Probably gonna end up stabbing myself here. Okay. But I'm just trying to make sure that I can get it to the sewing machine without it moving. Okay, so I'm just kind of gonna go like this. Very professional, very official. All right. So obviously you can see that this stuff is like shredding like crazy. If you have a serger, I would definitely serge the edges. I do not have one, so I'm just going to act like it's not there and live with it until I enclose them. Okay, so there's the center of that. On the first one I did, I just left white thread in, and that was my first time ever sewing on Velcro, so I did it for 2 reasons. 1, so that I could show you guys where I sewed, and 2, so I could see where I sewed. And I tried 2 different kinds of stitches. So let me show you. On this one, I'm going to change it to black thread so that you can't see the stitches. So what you're going to do is similar to when you attach a handle onto a bag, you're going to sew in a rectangle. You can see the stuff got stuck all in it because it's shredding. See here, I did a square. You could also go an X, like a bag handle if you want, and I'm going to use black thread on the next one, so you're not even going to be able to see it, so it won't matter. I tried doing a zigzag, as you can see right here, to try and get closer to the edge, but it, like, went crazy and made a big bowl of thread, so don't do that. Just do a straight stitch, do a rectangle, and then an X if you want to. I'm going to go change the black thread, and I'm going to go attach these on, and then I will be back. Now I have them both sewn on. I'll show you on the back side because you can't really tell on the front. Changing to the black definitely makes it look nicer because then you can't see it. Ignore that fuzz. Just talking about the part over here. Okay. And I was sewing through the interfacing too. The thread broke on me one time, but the needle did not. So we're all good. And now it's secure. It's got some interfacing. It's got some strength. The next step is to make our sandwich, to make our tube. Now clearly the black is larger than the white. So we can't just match them up and sew down the line. It doesn't work like that. What we're doing is we're making like an accent with the black. So how we do that is we make ourselves a pretty little sandwich. So we have our right side, pretty side, and our right side, pretty side. Oh, the Velcro needs to be on the right sides as well. So I believe they need to be on opposite sides. Let me think. So if this is like, these two are on opposite sides, then once we come together, yep, okay. So make sure each Velcro piece is on a different side. Since we have a seam, we need to match that up because it's going to look bad if we don't have a matched up seam. So we're going to take our center seam here, our center seam here, we're going to match it up. We make our tube in 2 steps. We do one side and then we do the other. So I'm just going to match up both sides right now in the center so that we have an easier time going down the line. And then what I'm going to do is just go maybe 3 inches and attach a clip, and I'm going to go down the whole length on both sides of this side of, like, I'm going to go on this side and on this side. If the bottoms don't match up perfectly, it doesn't matter. We can trim them and it will be fine. And once we flip this inside out, all of these crazy frays are going to be on the inside. So it'll be okay. Don't be afraid of using too many clips. There's no such thing as too many clips, especially with a silky, moving fabric like this. We want it to be secure. So these actually line up pretty well at the end here. I'm going to clip that just to hold it secure. So you can see there's a big gap. I'll show you how to fix that after we sew this side. I need to grab myself some more clips. Again, this is the center, so now I'm going to go on this side, making sure everything is taut, pulled, straight, lined up. I definitely think a serger is going to be my next investment. If I can say a joke without anyone being offended, I used my first stimulus check to buy my sewing machine, so I think I'll use the second to buy a serger. And then when taxes come, I can write it off for a business expense, right? So free money and a tax write-off. Oh, I'm going to make somebody angry. All right, so now I'm going to sew along this line right here. I would suggest starting in the middle in case anything shifts, or you could be a daredevil and you could start on one side and go all the way down. It's up to you. We're going to do this at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now I can't start directly on the seam or in the center because I have my clip here, so I'm going to go a little farther back and get my back stitch in. always backstitch at seams. And I'm going to leave this clip in just to hold everything even. And I'm going to constantly be going like this to check to make sure that both of these edges are lined up. Little threads here are getting like caught in the clip and on my needle. That's what's happening. I'm not cutting the thread or the fabric. I'm just cutting these things that are getting caught in the presser foot. Backstitch at the end. So I left the black thread in so I could show you. That's what it looks like. All right, so now we need to do the other half. Now that the center is definitely secured, what you could do is you could go to the other end you could go to this side and start at this side, or you can make things a little awkward and go this way. I would suggest going this way because, again, you're starting in the center. The center is going to be the most noticeable spot where it's messed up, and it's on your shoulder. So I would suggest starting this way. It's up to you. And backstitch. Also, if anything shifts, you can make adjustments at the bottom. If you had a bubble up there, you will see the bubble. I don't know if I already said this, but I am using a jersey needle as this is a silky fabric. There might be a better needle out there for it, but I know that jersey needles definitely help. Oh, look, see, this is not lining up now. Now we have a bubble, but I can fix it because we're at the bottom. So I'm just going to reclip it. I'm fixing the bubble right here. I unclipped it, I'm gonna fix it. If that bubble would have happened in the middle, it would have just been not nice to look at. All right. The two main needle types I use are jersey or universal. I use universal pretty much on anything. And then the jersey on silkier fabrics. If you have a favorite needle type, let me know in the comments down below. There we go. And we have no bubbles. And it still ended up matching up. Let's go back to the table and I'll show you how to clip the other side. Now that we have one side sewn together, if you want to take a sneak peek, you can unclip and see this is what it's going to look like. It's looking really nice. So now that we have extra space here, there's going to be a bubble. We're going to push the black fabric back to meet the white fabric. Clip at the center seam, and then the same way that we did the one side, we're going to do this side. Pinning right sides together, clipping right sides together. It's just that this will have a bubble. You're just concerned about getting the edges matched up. Don't worry about the bubble. If you're new to sewing, you might see that sewing is a lot of back and forth, a lot of sew, then clip, sew, then clip, sew, then clip, then cut, iron, and all these different steps. It's not just pure sewing. Actually, one of my favorite things to make right now are masks, because I can do the whole thing with only finger pressing. Finger pressing is when you just use your fingers to open a seam instead of using an iron. I can do a whole mask without using an iron and still make it look nice. So I enjoy making masks because it's easy for me, but I've made way too many masks at this point. I have about 100 in stock right now on my Etsy, and I haven't had a mask sale in probably about 6 months. So if you're interested in getting a new mask, check out my Etsy shop. I've got lots of different patterns, lots of different masks. Anyways, where I was going with that tangent of it's back and forth and back and forth, that's why I never really make one of something. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I cut up all the fabric to make a bunch of sashes because that's why I got this fabric. So what I'm going to do is all the other sashes off camera, I'm going to do it in batches. I'm going to do all the center seams, then press all of them, then line them all up, then sew them all, then turn them right side out, and then put the names on them. If you do everything in batches and you do at least 3 or 4 of them at a time, then it's worth more of your time to be more efficient. It's the same concept of when you cook, you should cook two of something, right? If you're a family of 4, you should cook 8. If you're a family of 2, you should cook 4. That way you have leftovers for the next day. Same concept. Be more efficient with your time. If you already have water boiling, boil more pasta. If you already are cutting fabric, cut more fabric. I'm just someone who very much likes streamlining and efficiency, so that's how I look at things. I'm not saying quality over quantity. Definitely don't do too many where you can't make them look nice. But also then when you're done, it's not like, oh, I spent a half an hour and I only have one thing. I spent an hour and now I have 2 done. Makes you feel more accomplished. Right now, my 2 big projects are that I am working on 100 scrunchies and 50 bows. I cut up a bunch of fabric. I picked 10 fabrics and I cut 10 strips of each. So I would have 100. And then of the bows, I cut 1 strip. So I would have 2. All right, now that this is all pinned, we're gonna do the exact same thing as the other side. We're gonna start at the middle, sew one end, turn it around, and awkwardly do the other half. And then we're gonna have a tube. Let's go back to the sewing machine. I was just fixing that clip so this seam would be open. We open seams to make sure that they lay flat and take up the least amount of space as possible. Again, I'm starting a little farther back from the clip. Take out the clip. Back stitching is a great reinforcement. Definitely back stitch at every seam, every big bump. See, we have a bubble again. There was nothing wrong with my pinning. It just happens. The fabric happens to move. There's no way that you're gonna pin it perfectly the first time. Whoop, that clip just went flying, but I'm not deathly afraid because it's not a needle. So it's on my ground somewhere. I gotta go find it, but I'm not gonna die if I step on it. So I definitely would do this a little smaller next time. You can see I'm a little close to the interfacing, but you can see our tube starting to take form now. And our Velcro's on the inside here. Let's swing this around, do the other side. I have about 100 pairs of scissors. That's an exaggeration, probably like 20. If you want me to tell you more about why I have different scissors for different reasons, leave a question down in the comments below and I will make a video. Or if there's something else that you're curious about that I didn't cover or I just sped past and you think that I should make a video on it, please let me know in the comments. I would love to create content that you're interested in watching. have our tube sewn. So the next step is to square off our bottoms. We're not really trimming, we're just kind of squaring it off. I don't know how I messed this one up and have this selvage here, so we might have to cut a little bit more off this end. Let's go back to the cutting table. All right, I have my end here. Whichever side you think is easier to try and get a straight angle on. It looks like the white is bigger, so I'm gonna put the white on the bottom. Again, like I said, we're not trying to really trim anything off, like length. We're just trying to even things out. So I'm not even really measuring. I'm just kind of going as far as I can to take the least amount off. See right here, this is the least amount. So then I'm gonna try and line up my straight edge. And I'm gonna take the least amount off possible. All right. See if that works. That looks pretty straight to me. Okay, the next step is that, it's kind of hard to explain, but what we're gonna do is to make the bottom, we need to close one end, and on the other end, we're gonna have to top stitch because we're gonna leave an opening to turn. So if I was smart, I would think about what the top side is going to be. The top side is going to be the one on the black. Okay, so this one. If my calculations are correct, this should be the top piece because the white piece should be on the bottom. Let's give it a go and see what happens. All right, so the black piece is bigger. The black piece is bigger. So what we're gonna do is try and even this out. If you want to, you can turn the whole tube inside out or right side out and then iron it and then turn it wrong side out again to make it really crisp and make sure you know you're correct. But what we're doing is we're making this, I don't know if you can see how there's a little bubble here? And I'm lining up the white to the bubble of the black, if that makes any sense. We're lining up, trying to get my light in the right spot. We're lining up the white and the bubble. I would also do a clip a little further down. You can see where my sewing machine bit me the other day. Oh, I'm sorry, a shark bit me. That's what I meant to say. All right. So see how this is folded evenly? So what we're gonna do, since I have this thing here and I screwed up, I'm gonna do it just above this, but I'm going to completely sew this side. This side is gonna be completely shut because this is our front side and I don't wanna top stitch. On the other side, we're gonna have to leave an opening and we're gonna have to top stitch it shut. If you want, you can whip stitch it shut or hand sew it shut. Whip stitching is a stitch where you don't see anything. However, this is Samantha's YouTube channel and I hate hand sewing, so I will not ask you to hand sew. I'm gonna show you how to do it with a sewing machine, but hide your stitches. Remember I showed you that in the bow video? If you haven't watched my bow making video, go ahead and watch that. And I calculated how to not use hot glue or a sewing machine, or hand stitch to get your opening shut. Instead, we use math. All right. This side is evened off. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm gonna match up the edges. This black piece right here is actually the sewing part. It's not the bubble. All right, I'm matching the bubbles. You might think when buying these clips off Amazon, like, oh, I only need 5 clips. I'm only doing a small project. Get the bag of 100. Then you don't have to be concerned. You just have a bunch. It's much easier. Okay. So this side is getting a full stitch all the way across. This side, we're gonna do a stitch, leave an opening, and then a stitch. I would leave your opening 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Leave it enough where it's gonna give you nice corners. Do at least 1 inch on each side so that you can have a nice right angle. Sometimes I even impress myself. Look, I even left enough space between the two clips where I got my pretzel foot down. I have to move it though because this black piece will hit the clip. Okay, we're gonna back stitch. Oh, it's getting caught. That happens sometimes. Cut your thread. Pull it out. That's why I'm using a jersey needle to try and prevent that. I'm gonna start a little farther down because now we already have that secure. I'm just gonna put this clip over here to hold the tension. Okay. Something about like the silky fabrics, sometimes your machine wants to eat them, but I definitely have way less of that using a jersey needle. If you're using a regular needle, it'll just eat the fabric. Okay, now we have that sewn. You can use scissors, pinking shears, whatever you want. Chop this end off. It's not going to be exposed, so it doesn't really matter, but my scissors are over there, and I have to get up. So I am just going to use these. Okay. Now, this side is completely encased. And if we did this right, then this is our top side. Fingers crossed. We'll both find out together. All right, on this side we want to leave an opening, remember? Hopefully that's a big enough opening that I can turn it. Again, we're gonna trim this, not this portion, only these sides. The corners are what's most important. Okay, so now we gotta turn this huge thing right side out. So what we're gonna do, this is our opening. I'm just gonna stick my finger, and I have my handy dandy. Oh, look at that catch. If you watch my videos, you know what this is called. Let me know in the comments down below before I say it. Ready? It's a chopstick. Very official. Very expensive. You can get a pack of 24 at Walmart for like $3, but don't tell anybody. It's a secret. Okay. All right. So here's our bottom. So I'm gonna try and squish the bottom into the tube. Kind of squish it. You can, well, I can stick my hand in there. I have tiny hands. Ha ha ha. My friends are laughing. That's what they call me. They're mean to me. Okay. So I'm just going to use my arm. If you have a small child, you can ask for their help. Or I could do it for you. All right. The chopstick was to just get to the bottom and to get the fabric to not be stuck together. So right now your Velcro is going to want to stick to itself. So I'm going to try and put it on the opposite side so I can get past. My hand is right here. The Velcro is right here. The other Velcro is right here. I'm going to try and keep them apart. So I don't know how you would get the Velcro to unstick if it was stuck on itself. All right. So here's my finger. It's stuck on my hand. Okay. Okay, see? Now we get to do the satisfying pull. It's like a magic trick. Look at this. Stupid threads. I think I should make myself a sewing apron that I wear when I sew so I don't get threads all over my clothes. All right, so now I'm just poking the corners out with my finger. Then I'm going to use our handy dandy tool here. Shove all those in. Act like they don't exist. Look, there's no threads. I don't know what you're talking about. All right. See how that gives us a nice right angle since we left the opening right here? But we sewed enough to get a right angle. Now we have to stick the chopstick all the way in the tube again to do the other side. You could press up on the seams right here if you wanted to, just like I showed you in the bow tutorial. But, so I don't have access to the chopstick. I'm just holding it from within. And I'm poking the corners out. Look at that. Nice seam, velcro. I'm just getting my chopstick back out. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the iron, and you can see the disaster that this fabric has made. One second. Look how much of a mess this thing has made. It's insane. I would definitely like to use a more sustainable alternative to lint rollers. I've been looking at the ones where it's like the wood stick thing, but they have really bad reviews. Or I've also looked at the one where it's like it's like a felt kind of, I guess, and you use it and then you use this little tool thing that you like get all the hair off. But the thing is, everyone is talking about cat and dog hair. I don't know if it would really work in a crafting scenario. So if anyone has a good sustainable alternative to lint rollers for crafting, please let me know. Okay, our objective now is to make the black, sorry, this camera's upside down for me, to make the black as even as possible on both sides. It is possible that there's a couple spots where we screwed up and it's not going to be even, but we're going to try our best. We're going to start at the bottom, right here, and we've already poked it out. We have our iron on a low setting. I have it on between silk and nylon for mine. My iron doesn't have like a number. And we're just going to slowly press the entire thing. Oh, this was our opening. Forgot about that. Make sure the opening is together. I'm just going to clip that so I don't forget. We need to sew that shut. We're going to switch to a white thread to sew it shut because you're going to see the white. And we're just going to go up the whole tube and slowly press and center the white onto the black. Right here I have a couple threads coming through. I'm going to go ahead and trim those. This fabric like wants to stick to my iron. I don't know. It's a very weird fabric to work with. This is the first project I've ever done with this fabric. I've worked with a silky type fabric before, but never this satin. So here's our center seam. See how it's all lined up? Take time when you do things like your seams, and it will look more professional and less homemade. And when you're giving gifts, you want things to look professional and not homemade. Same with when you're selling things, because people don't want to buy things that have a bunch of mistakes. And if you, and same thing with gifts, if you like spend a long time working on something and you didn't do your best to get it even or to match up seams, then the person isn't going to know how much time and effort you put into it, and they're not going to use it, likely. So try your best to make everything look as nice and professional as possible so that people want to buy your stuff and so that people want your gifts, because unfortunately, people are petty and don't appreciate homemade gifts. That doesn't say for everyone. I'm not saying everyone's like that. But if you spent time and effort to make something, you want someone to actually use it, right? You don't want them to just say, oh, I like it, and then it goes in the back of their closet. Make something practical. Make something beautiful. Make something professional. That's also why we use coupons and thrift store fabric and remnants to make things, especially when it's gifts. Because if you spent $20 a yard on a fabric and made a bag for your friend and they said, oh, great, and never used it, I would hope that would make you mad. I would hope you wouldn't make something for that person again, or you wouldn't spend that amount of money or time or effort. That's just my 2 cents. Probably making people angry with this video. Trying to make sure the black is as even as possible. Okay. So now we need to sew the opening closed, and you can take things one step further by stitching in the ditch. That means that you stitch right in your seam, and that will tack down the black fabric. Now you will be able to see the stitch, so it's up to you if you want to do this. You could just do it at the bottom here. You could stitch the black down, and then you could go at the shoulder seam and stitch the bottom down, and then at the other bottom, so that if this was ever washed or it got wrinkly, that it would be simple for them to then re-iron it. Or you can go ahead and stitch all the way down. Think about it though, that will lock it in place. So if there is any manipulation that needs to happen, it cannot happen. It's up to you. I'm going to change to white thread. I'm not going to tack this down. I'm going to change to white thread, and I'm going to sew this opening shut. The fact that I keep having to change thread and bobbin throughout this project is another reason that I suggest that you batch your projects, so that, like this step, I'm doing it because I'm sewing 5 of them shut versus just 1. That's just my 2 cents. Makes better use of your time. But also, if I did this again, I would get white Velcro so that I could leave the majority of the thread white, and then I don't think I would have to switch it out at all. But I didn't think about that when I was getting the materials, because I've never made this kind of project before. This was my first time. So you live and learn, right? I would buy the Velcro in a coordinating color to your top piece or your lighter piece that you would see the thread color of. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm going to move my needle all the way over I want a nice tight stitch. Fabric keeps shifting. I want to make sure the white is directly on top of the black. For consistency, I'm just going across the whole piece here. I forgot to use a leader piece, and so there's a little bubble right here. But if you just pull at it, it'll come out. Be straight, and then just pull on the thread. Okay. Now, if I knew where my scissors were, trim your threads. Okay, so now these stitches are the only stitches on the outside of our project. The whole rest of the stitches, including the velcros, are enclosed. Let's go try it on. Okay, so I'm going to put this shoulder seam on my shoulder and then go across. Oh, it worked. It's good. Looks nice. And then now I can put the words on it. Actually, it would be flipped around and it would go on this side. This way. Because the words left to right. So that'll be a separate video that I'm going to show you how to cut out the vinyl and put it on here to write happy birthday, mommy to be, whatever you're using this sash for. That'll be another video. But that is how they overlap. And because we did the Velcro vertically, you can make your crossing more dramatic. You could center them if you want. You have more possibility because we made the Velcro vertical. But I do think this is a successful project. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you make a sash for yourself, please tag me at Tansy Paper Co. and use the hashtag TPC Sews. Have a great day. Goodbye.